Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's
My name is Amar Paul. I'm with the
nice.
Canadian Punjab Times newspaper, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
As a Minister of Food, right? These days,
Agriculture and food. Yes.
these days of food adulteration, lots of problem because of the food, and what the BC government took the step in the previous years, 3 or 4 years, and like when the next government will form, what you guys will do it, and just want to know, especially the Indian sweets, right? They don't have what are the ingredients, right? They don't mention like Tim Horton have on the website. They what are the ingredients? I want like government should mandatory. They should write it down in the shop or on the website. What are the ingredient in the sweets? The sweets are frozen, made from the frozen, or made from the fresh. Because of that, lots of the problems are coming, and that's why the it's burden on the hospital also.
Okay. Now, I don't know that much about where the law stands with respect to advertising what's in a food or whether or not a food has been previously frozen or it was made from fresh as opposed to frozen ingredients. All good points to raise. And it's possible that it's bigger than just the provincial agricultural ministry. It sounds like it's a federal issue. So I will look into that one and find out exactly where we are, but I hear your points and understand them. I often wonder what an ingredient might mean, or, so I take your point, absolutely, and certainly will investigate that one.
And another point is, especially like in the if you saw the Europe, they use less chemicals on the food, especially on the agriculture, as comparison to North America. What the BC government should prevent the people use like that much chemicals, right? Not to harm on the body because of the profitability. They use chemicals and to grow the profit, and the people getting more cancer. One in the Canadian got a one of the five and Canadian got a cancer these days. That's burden on the health system because of the profit. The big companies got a profit and they use chemicals on the food. As comparison, if you go, I was in Italy, they use very rarely chemicals in the food and the agriculture industry, but here they use more chemicals.
So, we have a very strong organic food sector in British Columbia that is chemical free. And so many times, if you go to farmers markets and that kind of thing, you see a wide selection of food being grown organically. And so we have those options. So it's a decision that the individual farmer might make about whether or not they're going to use a chemical or not. There's a whole movement on regenerative farming, which means you use other crops to so plant in between the crop that you're trying to sell and harvest. And that helps reduce the number of bugs, or it helps with other elements retaining water. And so there's an entire movement on looking at farming holistically, so you're not using chemicals. So certainly that is on the rise. And so it is an individual decision right now for the farmer to make whether or not he uses or she uses chemicals.
My question is, what the government doing to control the chemical, not to use chemicals on the, because whatever you gave the example, the farmer market, the vegetables are very expensive, and these days the normal person can't afford it. Because what the government restriction? I just don't know what are the government restriction forward. Farmers can't use chemical for their own profit or the big companies.
So that's federal government decision on, and there's lots of testing centers in Canada that look at whether or not a particular chemical is banned from Canada. So those are federal government issues, and so they apply right across Canada.
What are the provincial government can do? Can't do anything.
As far as what chemicals are allowed, that is a federal government decision. But I can tell you in British Columbia, there is certainly, I would say, an increase in the number of people who are looking at that regenerative practice in using other products like other herbs or different vegetables in between the crop to actually deter disease and bugs and that kind of thing. So it acts in the same way. And so there's an entire movement right now in British Columbia for this, and right across Canada for that matter.
Okay, thank you. And now I have a local issue. You were the former mayor of the mission, right?
I was, yes.
Yeah, everyone knows about you. And the people of the mission are complaining about they said no ICBC office over here. They have to go for test in the Abbotsford. They are suffering lots of problem. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I will always be advocating on behalf of the mission community to get the service center back in mission. We lost it in 2002 under the former Liberal government, and in a sort of mood to regionalize services. And so I know the wait times are significant in Abbotsford, which a number of our folks go to get services. But they have in Abbotsford recently increased the number of examiners, and they've opened up Saturdays and this kind of thing to try and help out with the overflow of people, because there's certainly a large number, greater percentage that are moving into the Fraser Valley. And so we need to absolutely match the wave of increased people and population to the services. So I am always advocating for a new service center for Mission, and I'll be pushing for that one.
And another thing is Service Canada office. No Service Canada office over the mission. And people are facing too much difficulty because mission population almost double in last 7 8 years.
It's not double. It's
Almost.
we saw an increase of 4.6% last
Okay.
year. So I know we will double, but probably it'll take another 20 years or so.
Okay.
And that's with the development in the Silverdale area. So absolutely. The Service Canada, though, again, is federal government responsibility, and you need to talk to the MP about that. But I agree we need to open up the access to the service centers because they're just vital for community.
And the people wanted for the said like they are upgrading the school for the high school, but they need a more school, at least two middle school and a secondary school. Instead of the upgrading, they need a more school in the mission community, and people are complaining about the school also. What you want to say about, because they said it's people didn't get like enough school there, that's why they are facing hard time. And from last 7 years, they said NDP government did nothing about the schools.
Well, actually, we invested $175 million into the replacement of Mission Secondary, which has been on the table for more than 20 years. I was a school trustee before I was counselor, before I was mayor, and I can tell you 2 terms as school trustee, having many, many education ministers from the Liberal government in to see the site of the school and the state of the school, but nothing government that invested this money in the replacement of Mission Secondary, and we're in the phase right now where the RFP is going out to companies to put a bid onto the work to actually get it done, and that's due right after Christmas. So we are on schedule with respect to Mission Secondary. Absolutely, we're going to need new schools with the population increasing west of Mission in the Polygon. I don't know if you're aware,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Polygon, 4,000 acre, they're doing that development.
exactly. So we're looking at absolutely schools in that neighborhood. We're also looking at the next ask from the school board, because I meet frequently with the school board, is to look at replacement of Hatzick Elementary. And so and of course, additional space at Albert McMahon, which is very, very cool. And so we are working very closely and we'll be advocating for additional space. You know, for many, many years, we didn't have this pressure. And so unfortunately, the school board, when I was on the school board in 2005 to 2011, we closed 4 elementary schools because we didn't have the numbers. And it was, I think, very short-sighted, the request from government to us to make sure that we didn't have children in these facilities with lower populations. And I think it was a mistake to let them go and to not have those options now, because of course, you know, there are cycles in the population. We're seeing this increase in mission that we've never seen before in the number of people bringing children, of course, you know, families. In fact, I think our average age in mission, like Abbotsford, is 39, 40 years of age. And so, yes, they have kids. And so we have to work very closely with the school board to ensure that we've got the space for these pending people coming into the community.
And regarding the hospital, right? Like people are complaining that they close the emergency at the night time. Now they are open again because of the pressure of the community. And as you said, like 5% increase in the population. And mission, do you think is enough facility in the mission hospital or need a more? And how you will advocating for the more facility at mission hospital? The people are going Maple Ridge or the Vancouver area, right? They are suffering.
So I can tell you that all over the world, there's a shortage of healthcare workers. Um, British Columbia is no different than the rest of Canada and in the US. And, you know, people forget the impacts of COVID on our systems, on our communities, massive impacts. In Mission particular, the ER had 2 doctors that left. And so certainly shifts were not able to be filled because there's a shortage of ER specialists. They're not regular doctors, they're specialists in British Columbia. 2 were hired in August and September, so I'm hopeful that we won't see the closures as we had before. But Adrian Dix has come to the community not once, but twice to take a look and has promised the community that more will happen in Mission, in the Mission Hospital. Because again, we have to match services to the growth that we're seeing. So we've supplied water and sewer, and we're looking at the road system. And so schools and healthcare, these are the important things to people that government provides. So we're working very closely with the ministry to ensure that Mission has what it needs in order to move forward.
My last question, if you win the next election, what's your plan to do work for the community for next 4 years?
Well, my bugaboo in the last 4 years was infrastructure, to make sure that the infrastructure was in place for the pending growth. I've seen uh, the investment in Highway 1 with the next phase and another $2 billion plus investment in another phase of Highway 1, which impacts all of us in the Fraser Valley. So that was the first thing on my list, and I'm grateful that we've seen this now underway. It's going to take some time, but it's underway, and so I'm really pleased about that. The waterfront, the Mission waterfront is in particular vital to Mission moving forward. And we'll do everything we can to ensure that that waterfront sees reality, and just so excited about that. And then, of course, I will, I think probably we're back to infrastructure with respect to healthcare and schools and all of that, because That's really what I can advocate and lobby for. I'm sure they're sick of me in Victoria.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.